You know, at some point, if you've made a bad bargain, it seems to me, you move away from it. You look at 2017 and look at the rout in Virginia. Look at the women voters that stood in the rain for hours because they were going to send a message to Donald Trump. You look at 2018, a historic landslide in the House of Representatives, in the People's House, Republicans losing by a historic number of votes. And when I say historic, I'm not talking about over the past 20 years. I'm talking in the history of this great republic. And now you look at polling numbers. What good is it doing Republicans to follow Donald Trump's playbook? We're going to show you polls in a minute. The one from a Fox News poll from Arizona, where you have a sitting U.S. senator that decided she was going to go full Trump, and she was going to yell at a respected reporter and scream and use it as a fundraising stunt, who has refused to criticize Donald Trump as he has breached political norms, breached constitutional norms, breached military norms, and she's down 13 points. 13 points. You can look at a senator in Colorado who is way behind, a senator in Maine who is losing, a senator in North Carolina who is fighting for his life, a senator in Montana. Well, all Republican incumbents who are endangered politicians. What bargain did they make that is worth following this man over the cliff, who right now in early June is on his way to losing in a landslide of his own? Again, yes, it's early. It's just a moment in time. This is just, these polls that we're going to show you in a minute are just a snapshot of where we are at the beginning of June. Things can change. But if they do change, it will be the first time in almost 4 years that elections have broken Donald Trump's ways. The last election to break Donald Trump's way in a significant way was when he won in November of 2016. But voters have been repulsed by his leadership. Voters have been repulsed by his racism. Voters have been repulsed by the breaching of constitutional norms. Voters have been repulsed by his attacks on the independent federal judiciary, and so have a lot of conservative judges, by the way. Voters have been repulsed by his breach on political norms. Voters have been repulsed by the fact that he completely ignored a pandemic that everybody was warning him about inside his own White House, including a trade representative that warned him at the end of January that 500,000 people could die. About that same time, he was saying it was just one person coming in from China. And then, of course, we moved to an economic crisis that was going to happen regardless because of the recklessness and irresponsibility of the Chinese government, that totalitarian state. But at the same time, the President of the United States had a duty to mitigate, to make things better for small business owners, to make things better for workers, to make things better for Black Americans, now a majority of whom that are adults are out of work. He failed in that duty to mitigate this economic crisis, and it's now turned into one of the great economic crises over the past 50 years, 60 years, 70 years. And now, of course, we have unrest in the streets. And the president, once again, trying to divide instead of unite Americans, according to his former Secretary of Defense, General Mattis. He has his current Secretary of Defense, of course, saying that he opposes the president's attempts to militarize the streets of America and to look at American civilians, American citizens, as opponents in a, quote, battle zone. Yeah, that's not somebody you want to follow over the cliff politically.